Hello, everyone. It's Cal Gould again here with some more history of ball hockey. We're going to be doing some more interviews with individuals that were involved with the sport of ball hockey over their early years. And this person is no exception. He's been around for quite a while and has played at quite the high level of ball hockey. So let me see who we are speaking with today. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Ian Poulsen. I'm from St. Albert, Alberta.
Can you tell me some of your earliest memories of playing an unorganized form of ball hockey or street hockey? What like in your youth, what early memories do you have?
Oh, I mean, as most Canadian kids do, we as soon as we could run, we could hold a stick in our hand, we'd be out playing street hockey. So I played my whole life since I can remember. We had lots of organized games right in front of my house. It was kind of the house that had all the sticks and the nets and all the tennis balls. And, we had 10 kids on the block that played, and we had goalie equipment. And I mean, I played my whole life, and I was always the first one out there, and I would be practicing and of course, imagining there was a goalie in the net and practicing to shoot top corner or bottom right, as if there was a goalie playing, and your imagination back then took hold, so.
What area was that in? Like, did you say that was that in the city of Edmonton, or what area were
No,
you in?
it was in St. Albert. Yeah, grew up in St. Albert.
And
Good
so
hockey town.
most of your friends and lived in that area. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to get an understanding of where some of the people lived in the city of Edmonton. What I heard from other players was that they played in the alleyways, because it's pretty common to have an alley in the city of Edmonton. But in St. Albert, from my understanding, there's very few alleys.
Yeah, very few alleys. So I was fortunate enough that my parents' house and the neighbors, we had a double garage or a double driveway. So the full length of the house from out front all the way to the garages in the back, probably about 100 feet of double driveway. So it was ideal. Dad had to replace the windows on the garage a few times, but he was okay with that because, we weren't getting into trouble. So it was a lot of fun. And then when we got too big for that, then we moved out onto the street. And then, of course, you get a car coming in, we'd stop playing, and car would go by and we'd be right back at it.
So tell me, did you play any other organized sports before you became involved in organized ball hockey?
Absolutely. I grew up playing soccer. I played soccer for 18 years. And I also played ice hockey, of course. I played junior out here in St. Albert, and soccer. I was fortunate enough played on a team from Alberta, and we went overseas to Belgium, and we had some tournaments over there. And sport was everything when I was a kid, to me at least. And street hockey was, of course, my passion. When you grow up playing that, it was unbelievable. And when it came around that someone found me and invited me to come out, of course, you had to be 18 to play in the league. There was no junior league back then. And so I was asked to come out, and I thought I'd hit the jackpot with this. It was, playing organized ball hockey was just a passion and my favorite thing to do, I would say.
So how exactly did you join the league? Was it some friends that invited you? Or did you answer an ad in the newspaper, or was it a whole team that put together? How exactly?
Yeah, it was winter time, and a friend of mine was going to be going to play ball hockey outside with his ball hockey team that he played on. That it was in the organized league, which I had never heard of. And I showed up, and Troy Shelemey, whom was the organizer of the team, and was kind of running this outdoor game that we were going to play. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was kind of a tryout for me, and I wasn't told. And we get out there, and within about a half an hour, they asked me to join the team. And I was like, "Well, what team? What are you talking about?" And they explained it to me, and I said, "I'm in, absolutely. Let's go have some fun." And not realizing how great it was as a kid, you miss the net and you got to go chase the ball, or it goes into someone's yard, and time out, and you have to go dig it out and get playing again. And here we are going to be playing in a rink without ice. You could rip the ball as hard as you wanted, and it stayed in play. This was fantastic. So it was Troy Shelemey that brought me into an existing team. I think the Dynamo, which was the team I think they'd been together for 2 years prior to me getting there. And they were in second division. And I had no idea of what divisions there were. I think there was only 6 or 5 or something like that back then. And I was just happy to get out and play. So the level didn't really matter to me.
Let me understand how old you were. Were the players on the team the same age as you, or did they vary in ages?
It varied. It was probably, I was 18 when I first started. I turned 18 a few months before the league. That league started for that year, so you had to be 18. And I would say, the bulk of the guys were within probably 5 or 6 years of me. 23, maybe 24 was the oldest. And at that age, I was the young guy, but I had probably 3 or 4 friends on the team that I knew prior to this. And, it's kind of seamless. I grew up playing ice hockey and of course soccer. And I was always the youngest on those teams growing up. And, I was a tall guy and, I could handle the ruggedness of play. And I played a couple of years up when I played ice hockey and, set me up for fitting in with a group of guys that were older than me. And at that age, you start to not care, it's just about your ability and having fun and, enjoying yourself. So.
Team name you said was the Dynamo. Do you remember how many years you played on that team? Was it consecutive or was it different years? Or
it was consecutive. I believe it was 2. And then it might have been 3. We moved up to first division and I was picked up by an existing team called the West Stars for provincials. And from that on, they asked me, for next year, they said, come and play. So I struggled with making the choice, but I kind of looked at it that I wanted to advance in my career. And I didn't think that the team that we had was going to be a team that was going to be, at the top echelon of playing in first division. And I wanted that challenge. So I ended up leaving and went to the Dynamo or to the West Stars. And the year that I left, we ended up playing in them in the semifinals in the city championship. And I scored the winning goal in the game to put them out. And so I kind of felt bad part of it, but it was very bittersweet, I gotta say. So it was interesting.
I understand completely. Now, in comparison to other organized sports that you played, what was your impression of the way the organized ball hockey league was run?
I think it was run very well. It was, being just turned 18, I hadn't played outside of, where you're more or less a kid and your parents enroll you in something. And it's run by adults throughout, like hockey and soccer. And whereas this was run by, guys similar ages, a little bit older, a lot of them were players on other teams. So they had skin in the game. So it seemed really important to them to put a good product together for all the players. It run very well. It's, like I said, it's interesting when you're new to a sport, which I was, and I was an adult now, and it was my say. It had something to do with how the league was run and the input on the team, and that was growing into adulthood. It was important. So I thought it was run very well. Of course, there was some hiccups in the growth because it did grow very fast. The game, it caught on like wildfire, as it should. It was a young man's dream playing street hockey to play in the league. Again, I thought the growth of it and the way it was run was really well.
Were you involved in the sport in any other way, like such as a referee, coach, manager, organizer, anything in that manner?
Yeah, I started coaching, and I had an opportunity to join a team. They were called the Blues, the Edmonton Blues, and they were a junior team in the junior league. And I was brought on as more or less an assistant coach. The coach at that time was a father of one of the players. Of course, he had never played and he was a city cop. And one of the other coaches that was with me was a brother of one of the kids on the team. And Adam Mana was this kid, the brother, and Jibo Mana was his brother that was an assistant as well. And I coached with them for 3 years. And I coached some volleyball, high school volleyball, and I coached some, Northern Alberta All-Star team for ice hockey. And I always enjoyed coaching. Now, when it came to the ball hockey and I was asked to come there, it was a good skilled team. They were hockey players that were really just learning ball hockey. So my knowledge of the game, I'd been playing probably 10 or 15 years by this time, really helped them develop as a team, because of course the existing coach, he had never played, so he didn't understand it. He was just going by hockey, right? And the different rules, etc. So, I was really lucky. We ended up winning junior nationals twice out in Toronto. So we did that back to back, and won Westerns with them as well, and of course provincials. It was a really good team, winning team, and I really enjoyed it. My daughter then started to get a little bit older, and I didn't have the time to go to give, because the juniors were run through the summer on weekends. So you're essentially giving up all your weekends through the summer, and it became too much for me. So I stepped back, but an experience that I absolutely loved. It was fantastic.
There are multiple levels of ball hockey. Maybe different terms are used in the Capital City Ball Hockey Association, and other ones. The term Tier 1 and Tier 2 were often used. In other levels in the nation, they call it Men's A, Men's B, Women's A, Women's B, etc. What was the highest level that you played at in the men's league?
In the men's league, I was fortunate enough to play for Team Canada. I played for Team Canada in 01 in Toronto, and I was a forward in that World Championship, which we ended up winning. We won in overtime, so that was fabulous. And then again in 03, I played for Team Canada over in Switzerland. And that year, I had switched after that Team Canada in 01. I switched the next year to defense. And I then was invited to Team Canada as a defenseman in 03, and we went to Switzerland, and we ended up winning that as well.
What about other levels of other tournaments at a lower level, like provincials and regionals and nationals? Are there any particular ones that stand out for you?
I would say one that really stood out for me would be it was Division II, actually, Medicine Hat provincials. It was a fantastic tournament, a lot of fun. It was kind of the first trip away with a group of men that were organized, and we were responsible for ourselves, but still had to play. And that one, I really learned a lot. It was a ton of fun, and went out and, we'll say, partied a little bit much, and you still had to play. So that's when I kind of learned what I can and can't do to be able to play hockey, because those tournaments are basically a war of attrition. And if you're not healthy by the time you get through a weekend of 5 games in 2 to 3 days, and Medicine Hat it was hot, you really had to take care of yourself. So that one really stood out. Of course, I've also played in countless provincials. I couldn't even tell you how many. Probably 21 to 22, I would say, provincials. And nationals I've been to 19 times. From Newfoundland to Vancouver, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Montreal, Toronto, all the way across. And those tournaments were what, when I got into first division and had the opportunity to play my first nationals, which was in Newfoundland, I actually ruined my knee. I tore my anterior cruciate ligament a few months before going, so I couldn't really do a lot, but I still went with the team, and I played a few games, and I got the bug to be at nationals. And from that moment on, everything I did was to get back to nationals. And it was also to show all of the other guys, because I was a pickup on a team, all the other guys, what nationals was and how incredible the level was. It was another step up, another shelf up. And the competitiveness and a national tournament representing your province, it was fabulous. And it was a really big thing for me to, later on when I had a team, to bring young guys in and show them what nationals is, because once you go, you don't want to not be there, right? You would work hard to be there again.
Do you have a particular favorite memory of ball hockey, whether it's individual wise or team wise? Anything in particular?
I think achieving my goal of playing with Team Canada. When we won the first year, that was kind of the realization that I achieved something that I had set out. When Team Canada first came about, it was the team who won nationals was the team that was then invited. They were allowed to pick up some players from, all across Canada to play in that tournament. And I was asked by the Toronto Midnight Express, be quiet, honey. The Toronto Midnight Express to go play with them after we played them in nationals. We lost in the final. We got the silver, and they asked me after the game to join them to come, and I said, absolutely, I'm in. And then that year it was shut down they opened up, or they decided they wanted to change how it was created. So they wanted an actual Team Canada. So from coast to coast, they were going to scout and pick up players. So that year that I was asked, they actually just combined Montreal and Toronto. So I didn't get the opportunity to go. And I thought, this is really what I want to do. I want to play for Team Canada. So when I went to that first one, it was a tryout camp. We were flown out in winter, and it was I think the end of November, early December, to a camp, and there was, I think, 60 guys, and you had to earn your spot on the team. And I was fortunate enough to make the team. I was the first guy from Alberta to play for Team Canada, and that was kind of the realization for me that I really achieved this goal that I wanted. So that is a really important spot for me in my memory of it. Of course, winning the silver medal at nationals with the Playboys against we lost against that Midnight Express team. That was the best tournament I'd played in ball hockey. I thought I played really well. I was really happy with my play. We were so close, and it, you have to learn to win. And that's kind of when I felt that we were there and I was there and I could really help a team in the future to win, because that was the goal, always to win a nationals.
Those are very good memories that you shared. Those not many players can attest to the that exclusive club of playing for a nation. So I think you have some grand memories there. Are you still involved in ball hockey in any way, or do you expect to be involved in any way?
I retired playing probably, I think 7 years ago now. My daughter is now 16, and I was coaching. I actually coached Junior Team Canada and for 3 years, and that were 3 world championships. And she was getting to the age that I needed to be home with her and to take time off to go to camp, to help pick the team. I'd be gone, 3 weeks at a time, and we travel overseas often. It was here in Newfoundland one year that I coached. I think that was 2008 or 2010, I can't recall. And I needed to be home. So I stopped coaching so I could be home with her and travel with her in her sports. And then I played for a number of years. I ran a team called the Edmonton Rock. Was really fortunate with a great group of players. I think probably some that you've spoken to. I know Troy played with us. Danny Slupek played with us. Doug McCarthy. We had a couple of guys that ended up playing with Team Canada, Chris Orobiak and Tim Barlow, who was the goalie. He was, I thought, the best goalie in Canada. and he was playing with us, and he was fabulous. And he was picked up by Team Canada as well a few years later. And I just, my body, it's a sport, I'm sure you've heard, it's hard on the body. My knee injury and my back, and then throw in age, right? Get a little bit older, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I'd miss a week after playing one game, and I'd miss 2 games, and I could play a game, and I said, no, I can't do this anymore.
Did you have any other family members that played the sport of ball hockey?
Did not. I'm the only one that played. My daughter is she's into cheer, and that takes up her time. That was her passion, and she's actually has played on has cheered on a team that is represented at World Championships in that down in Florida. So she's got a passion that she's in, and I was the only one that played.
What do you feel has made the greatest impact on the sport in general, whether it's the growth or the overall quality of the sport? Is there anything that you think has made a significant impact on the sport?
I think the biggest impact on the sport of raising the growth, of course, and raising the quality of it has been the junior leagues. Once that started, you saw players coming up that were now turning 18 and arriving in the men's division, and they already had the mindset of ball hockey because of the different rules, because you're running. You know, the younger players were better than we were at that age. And I would say for me, that's the biggest impact, is those young guys already having, 10 years of playing, some of them more, by the time they got to where I started, and that's probably the biggest one that I can think.
Is there a person, let me ask you this question first. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to play the sport of ball hockey?
Is, as I said earlier, when you're a kid and you're playing street hockey, you just do it because you love it. And when you get into a setting where you're playing this sport through the summer and making new friends, it's fabulous. I still see kids playing on the street, which doesn't happen a lot anymore. Not as many kids play street hockey as when I was a kid playing street hockey. And I'll tell them, and I have pictures on my phone of, the dressing rooms when I coached the juniors, of, the jerseys that we have all set up. We had equipment managers and trainers, and you walk into that room and it looks like a professional hockey player's room. I mean, the Oilers have nothing on it. And I would show these kids these pictures and tell them, hey, do you guys know about the Ball Hockey League in Edmonton? No, I don't know that. And I would tell them. And if their parent was out, on doing the lawn or something, and they'd see this dude talking to the kids, sometimes, a couple times, because I've probably done it 15 times that I can remember. They'll, hey, what's going on? And I'll walk over and I'll tell them what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know about that. I'll tell them to look on the net and look into it. If your kid wants to play and you want to burn them out in the winter or in the summertime, this is a perfect sport for them.
Is there a person, if they were here right now, that you would want to thank for getting you involved in the sport of ball hockey?
It would have been Troy Shelemey. He, we met when I was 17. I wasn't even 18 yet when we met. And he ran that team and he invited me in, and Troy and I became good friends. I ended up working for him and in the business he had, in his family business, and I worked for him for 12 years. And he was the biggest influence for me getting into the sport. We became best friends, I would say. He stood up for me at my wedding, and just, a fabulous guy. He's an organized guy. He ran a great team. He was smart enough to know that the guys that you want on that team weren't just good quality players. They are also a group of guys that would get along, and you'd have some team unity and bonding. And he's bar none the first and foremost guy that I would say that brought me into ball hockey and allowed me to have the career that I had.
Ball hockey has grown into an international sport. We already know that from earlier discussion, that there are world championships that take place at all levels, men's A, men's B, women's A, women's B. And there's also a masters in men's and women's. And masters is not the caliber of play, but rather based on the age of play or the age of the players. Knowing that there's such a high level of play now, international wise, at all age groups, what do you see or hope to see for the future of ball hockey?
I know that in my time going through it, they were trying to get it into the Olympics. The CBHA out of Toronto, they were working hard to try and get recognition for the sport and get it into the Olympics as a trial sport. That, I think, is an ultimate goal. I don't see it happening simply because the parity isn't there of other countries. I played for the Masters Team Canada as well over in Bratislava, and Slovakia, Bratislava, very good ball hockey teams. You have, Austria was trying to grow the sport out there, but the parity just wasn't there. There's not enough teams. So Team Canada they were never allowed to get into the Olympics. It was never a go ahead on that. So they tried to then build new teams with passports for Pakistan, for Germany, for Great Britain, and were kind of getting players from Canada who had these passports to play for these teams and try to grow the sport that way. It never happened. I think it's gotten really difficult to get past the world level. And I think that's starting to fall off a little bit. I haven't been around the Team Canada guys for a few years, so I don't even know how that's been growing. I know Nationals has, the caliber has gone down, I would say, simply because I don't think there's the quality of the guys coming up and going through it anymore. So, it's really hard to say where it's going to go from now. I'm hoping they can get back to the level and the organization that was there before, like a few years ago. I think it comes down to getting smart people involved at the highest levels. And it's kind of gone by the wayside. It's different in Ontario. The leagues there for money, and when there's money involved, it changes things, because now it's about control and making money. Whereas in Alberta, it's not about making money, and it's for the passion of it and the fun. So that's a real difficult question for me to answer.
But it's truthful, and it's a lot of candor involved there. So I'm glad you gave that perspective. I thank you very much for answering it. Now, is there any discussion you would like to have on any questions that I haven't asked? Anything you want to add?
I think, and you and I have touched on this, and I know all of the guys that are friends of mine from ball hockey, which are many. I have friends all across the country, from Newfoundland to Vancouver, that I'm still friends with, that I still see, that I still go and visit and talk to. Terry Ryan, he's a former NHLer. He's from Newfoundland. Him and I became great friends. We played together on Team Canada for 01 and 03. And we were roommates in 03, and still talk to him a lot. Rick Spalla is a guy from Ontario and fantastic player. He played for Team Canada as well. Him and I are still great friends. We talk every week. Dan Slupek from here, played with him on the Playboys. We can't have a conversation without getting onto ball hockey. And when it would happen, we get together with our wives, and they would say, we'd be sitting there and all ball hockey conversation started, and they both say, "Come on, you guys, can you do this, when you're on your own?" Because it always comes around to ball hockey. And I'm sure that's exactly what you end up doing. And you have that circle of friends that you went through those wars with, and that passion with, and it always comes back to that. And yeah, we're kind of living through our memories of being young and how great we thought we were and doing all these things. But those friendships, you know, like anyone, you talk to anyone, you get all these old NHL guys that are retired. They all talk about the guys and what it was like in the dressing room and those relationships that you have. And those like-mindedness, and as I mentioned, you know, you're going through a war with them. You get close to people, and that really sticks. Those friendships stick forever.
Yeah, that's exactly true. All right, I thank you for your time. Appreciate it. We hope to speak with you again.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kel.